In this class I want to talk about Friedrich Herzberg's contribution to motivation theory. Now, for Herzberg there were two parts to motivation, what was called the hygiene factors and the motivation factors. And both of these must occur simultaneously. So putting it simply, motivation is caused by a lack of dissatisfaction, by no dissatisfaction. These are the hygiene factors. So minimal dissatisfaction, or ideally no dissatisfaction. These are the hygiene factors. And simultaneously there must be motivating factors. So two parts must be met in order to get a motivated workforce. Now the first part of the motivation theory involves the hygiene theory, and these include the job environment. So for example, hygiene factors could include the company, its policies and its administration. Who is the company? What's its reputation? What's its history? What does it make? What are its policies? How does it treat its workers? How does it fit into the local community? How is it viewed? And what's its administration? Is it efficient at paying salaries and wages and paying debtors? And does it enjoy a good reputation? And secondly, the kind of supervision which the workers receive. Is it supportive? Supportive and encouraging, and is it there for the workers? Is it a nice place to work because the management relate to the workers? Or perhaps the supervision is more aggressive and more supervisory, more watching and controlling. So what sort of supervision do they get? What are the working conditions? What's the status? What's the status of the company? And what's the status of the workers within the company? And security, well, we could see that on two levels. First of all, there's the security of employment. People like to have relatively secure jobs, or fairly secure jobs. They like to be able to plan their personal lives, their commitments. They may have family obligations. They may have debts, for example, a mortgage for a house, or they may have to pay for children at school, or to run a car, or even an annual holiday. So having job security helps them, so they like to have job security. And the other part of security is almost the more obvious one. Are the people secure at work? Is health and safety okay at work? Is the environment in which they work dangerous? Has the management enabled them to work and feel safe? And what are the interpersonal relations? How do the workers relate to the management? How can they speak to the management? How can they talk to the management? And how do they talk to each other? What's the overall environment? If you like, the social environment within the business. Is it good? Is it friendly? Is it supportive? Is it nice? Is it a nice place to work? And of course the salary. If the salary is less than other companies in the area, there will be dissatisfaction. So all of these contribute towards satisfaction or dissatisfaction. They do not lead to higher levels of motivation, but without them there is dissatisfaction. That's the point. The second part of Herzberg's motivation theory involves what the people actually do on the job. These are the motivators. They are achievement, recognition, growth and advancement, and interest in the job. People like to have a feeling of achievement when they've achieved a task, particularly if it's a difficult task and if it's complicated, or if it's onerous and they've achieved it. They feel like it's an achievement, and they like it in work. It engenders motivation. It enables them to be more motivated. They've achieved something. And it's nice if they're recognized for that achievement. if the management recognise it and congratulate them or thank them, and their colleagues, their peers, say that was a job well done, and it's just general recognition for their contribution to the business. Even if they don't do heroic things like solving a big problem or doing something exceptional, even if they just work day in, day out, they'll still like to be recognized. They're human beings and they like to be recognized and thanked for their contribution and for their efforts. And does the company offer growth and advancement opportunities? Can the individual grow within the business? Can the individual acquire more skills? Because the acquisition of more skills is an enriching experience for the individual. They feel better. They feel they're capable of more. And it would be nice if they could think that one day they could be promoted to a different level where they would be able to exercise greater skills. So that is something that they bear in mind, and that's something that may be motivating them. Last one here, number 4, interest in the job. It may seem a strange one to have on the list, but quite simply, if the workers are not interested in the job, they will not be motivated. There must be a basic interest in the job. So if it's an engineering company, the workers must be interested in engineering. If it's an accountancy company, they must be interested in accountancy. If they're not, and their task requires those skills, then they're not going to be motivated. So these factors are internal generators in the employees. They yield motivation more so than just general movement within the business, just general day-to-day routine work. It's these 4 factors that lead to motivation and more involvement, more engagement with the work. Both the approaches, hygiene and motivation, as I said at the outset, must be done simultaneously. They must be concurrent. They must happen at the same moment. So treat the workers well so that they have a minimum dissatisfaction. That seems to be the recommendation to management. Treat the workers well so that they're not dissatisfied. I know it's a double negative, not dissatisfied, but they are satisfied. That's the point. They should be satisfied if they are treated well. And enable the workers to get achievement and recognition for achievement, interest and responsibility, so that they can grow and advance in their work. These are the motivators. So if both parts occur simultaneously, the workforce will be motivated. Now, to summarize this list, we'll just look down it again quickly. The hygiene factors are the company policies and administration, supervision, working conditions and interpersonal relations, salary, status and security. Now these are the essentials. This is what must happen to keep the workforce from being dissatisfied. The motivators are what actually gets the workers engaged with the work, motivated to achieve. They must be recognized. They must be interest in the task and responsibility for enlarged tasks and growth and advancement to higher level tasks. So the workers are motivated, they're engaged, they're interested. Both parts are important. Now let's look at the work and how it affects the individual's motivation. Well, it provides at least sufficient for his and her basic needs, and often much more. So work and the engagement in work must satisfy the worker's basic needs. Of course, what the basic needs are is a bit more complicated. For example, 50 years ago in the United Kingdom, food and shelter were a person's basic needs. Well, today people need a car and a television and a refrigerator and perhaps an annual holiday. These are basic needs. So basic needs have changed over time, and hence remuneration, salary, and so on must keep up to enable the workers to meet these, what they consider to be basic needs. The work should give adequate security. I mean, job security is important to workers. So most individuals seek job security. Others, including some men, say on oil rigs, who seek high pay for a limited period, but with limited security. So there are people in the workforce who have different requirements. A lot of people will want job security and will want to plan their lives and settle down, have a family, work in the community, join the local club, and so on. So they will want job security to meet that. There might be other people who want to work in very insecure jobs, but very highly paid work. But it depends on the individual. But for companies, if the workers do want job security, that must be on the cards. Work, it provides an individual with an identity. People become a member of an organization and carry out specific functions. So it's an identity. People may describe a worker as saying, this is Joe Bloggs and he works for ABC Limited and he's an engineer. Now, that extra information, working for ABC Limited and is an engineer, that's adding to the identity of the person. So it's extra information about the person. It gives the worker friendship, comradeship. It's something to do during the day. It's freedom from boredom. And it's an interest in his or her working life. So the work should give a friendly atmosphere with colleagues, and it should not be boring. It should be interesting. And that will motivate people if it is interesting. It also provides self-fulfillment for the individual, where consideration has been given to ensure that the job is creative and gives job satisfaction. So if the job does give job satisfaction, and if it is creative, it does require some sort of creative thinking on the part of the worker, then they will feel self-fulfilled at the end of the day. They'll feel that they've made a good contribution. They've performed a particular task and they used their initiative and they were recognized for doing so and perhaps congratulated by the management for solving the problem. And the more creative it is and the better the job specification in terms of what is required, then the more the workers will feel engaged and interested in the work. It provides the individual with status. It enables the workers to say that they work for a certain company, and if they hold a particular position within the company, they can then talk about the position within the company. So it's a particular identity that the workers get over and above their identity within the community itself. They are seen as the person who works for the company who has that particular status. So in this class what we've looked at was the contribution of Herzberg, and the essentials in the class are to understand the differences between the hygiene factors and the motivators. Understand that both must happen simultaneously, and that the hygiene factors reduce or possibly even eliminate dissatisfaction, and the motivators are the parts that drive the people to engage with the work and to be motivated. And then towards the end we talked about what is expected from work on the part of the workers, and there were 6 points culminating in the one on the screen at the moment. So that concludes this class on Herzberg, a short class. Please read over the material and add to your notes, and that is Herzberg's contribution covered. So thank you for watching.